What's going on, guys? My name is Psyche and welcome back to Dead Cells. Today we're going to be focusing on a new weapon, that is the Rapier. Now I know I've talked about this weapon for a long time now, but I never really had a chance to showcase it, so here we are today. So this is a weapon I didn't have too much practice of using, but after today's showcase I had a really positive impression of it. I think this weapon does something really unique that a lot of other weapons don't do, and that is burst damage. As you might know, the critical hits from the Rapier comes after you roll, so naturally you're going to be rolling a lot. Now what's weird about this is that since there is a cooldown of how long you can roll for, the damage from the Rapier technically comes in bursts. So this was a really interesting playstyle that I had to find ways to kind of synergize with, which you'll see a bit later. But I was thrilled to try out a new weapon. After all, there's still like half of the weapons in the game I haven't showcased in runs, so I'm really excited about those, and this will just be one of the few steps that I will make to finally showcase every single weapon in the game, which is a goal I'm trying to work towards. So I did pretty well in the prisoners' quarters. There were a couple of rats that just kind of got in the way, but yeah, I mean, I'm going to be rolling a lot and I'm not running a shield. For some reason, the rats are just being really annoying as always. And as soon as I went into the toxic sewers, I realized this may not have been the best choice. As you'll see right now on screen, it's because of those flying things. And rolling and flying enemies just don't mix well together. Recently, I'm trying to not use shields in some of my runs because, well, first of all, I really like using shields. I pretty much feel invincible as long as I have a shield on. But I'm trying to experiment with more synergies. A lot of people have been asking me, why are you playing in custom mode now? Didn't you only used to play in normal mode? Isn't custom mode cheating? Well, as it turns out, sometimes in normal mode I don't find the equipment I want, and most of the times, you guys have to keep in mind, I don't have all the time in the world. I kind of need to focus on school and other things. I don't have the time to reset and look for the items that I need just so I can showcase it. So custom mode really just makes it easier for me. The thing about custom mode is that you just see the little wrench on the side and you're assuming that something has been modified from the game. But the truth is though, even if you only lock like one item out of the entire item pool, that wrench will still be there. So sometimes, I know for some people, just having that icon on the screen is enough to turn them away from custom mode. Maybe next time I'll do this, but in every single one of my runs, including this one, I try to restrict as little items as possible. The only items that I actually restrict are the main weapons that I know that I will not be using for the run. So for example, in this one, since I want to be showcasing the Rapier, I'm just gonna have the Rapier unlocked in the custom mode menu. However, I do keep every single support skill in the game, so such as throwing knife, you also got firebrand, frost blast, that kind of stuff. So it's really the main weapons that I will be restricting. And on top of that, I don't restrict skills at all. I can find every single skill in the game. I've mentioned this time and time again, but I think decision making is what makes this game feel really good to play. So obviously I do want to have some aspect of decision making. I do keep all the parts in the footage of me actually changing the weapons, because I think it's really helpful for you guys to know my decisions and reasoning behind each item that I take or change. But in terms of this run at the moment, obviously because of those bats, I am having a little trouble, especially managing health. I don't like to take flasks this early, and some of these monsters are just extremely annoying to deal with, especially the rats. You'll probably see me get hit a bunch of times by those, even a little bit later. So the reason that I don't run many builds without shields is because I think shields they make up so much of a run that if I did a run without one, I would just feel more vulnerable. The only option where I would actually consider not having one is if I'm so sure that I do so much damage that it's not a problem at all. And just here I'm gonna see something very, very peculiar. A curse chest in toxic sewers. However, I've already cleared the entire biome, so it looks like I actually have to take it to the next level, which is the corrupted prison. So now, as you can see, I have to lift 20 curses. Now, isn't that fun? If you guys want my personal opinion, I do think there can be more curse chests in a run. I know you can kind of pick biomes to choose if you want to take curses or not. I just really like the concept of curses. I know some people say it's not really balanced. Well, considering the fact that you just die in one hit, but I think it's not that bad because it's only 10 kills. It really tests your knowledge of the game and tries to get you to adapt, just like I did with this Slammer here. There was no way I'm dealing with that while I'm cursed. Also, going back to what I was saying about custom mode, I know on top of having the ability to restrict different items, there are also a bunch of cosmetic changes that you can do, or even options to make the game even harder. I'm not sure if you guys are ever interested in those, but I'm always down to try them out. Still looking forward to the new 2.5 patch. I believe this was probably one of the longest waiting periods I've seen in releasing updates. I think 2.5 alpha was announced in like early August, but now it's in September. I'm just seeing where it is. I am excited for it, obviously, but as of right now of recording this video, 2.5 is not yet released, though I have been anticipating it to be released pretty soon. And coming up to these giant elite monsters, I am going to run into quite a bit of trouble. For some reason, I have no idea how I didn't die there. A lot of close calls. That's what I like about this game. You're never really safe, unlike some other games out there. I have played Binding of Isaac during the 10k sub special event, and yeah, in that game you can feel so powerful that you just cannot die. But that is not the case with Dead Cells. So at this point I'm just trying to maximize as much burst damage as possible because that's kind of how the Rapier is structured. I really need the enemies to die in like one burst of hits. They did buff this in 2.4, I believe, so you have a bit more time to land crits before it goes away after a roll. So that's always good. But moving right along in this biome, not doing as well as I would have liked, but really you win some and you lose some. You can't always have the best setup in the world. Finally making it through this extremely dangerous biome, we're gonna enter the ancient sewers. Now I would have loved to face Mama Tick, but if you go to the toxic sewers, you can never go to the morass of the banished, and thus you can never fight Mama Tick. I really wish they changed this. They recently did incentivized biomes in 2.5 to kind of motivate you to go to biomes you don't normally go to, though I would have preferred more ways to access these biomes and change the rewards within them in the first place. These giant mushrooms, as always, are giving me quite the headache. I'm trying to traverse this biome to the point where I can take it out reliably without having to worry about the spikes. Those things are just really annoying, and the radius on them is insane. Now you may have noticed something very peculiar in my mutation slots. I'm taking a mutation I normally don't pick, and I believe that is Adrenaline, which states that if you roll at the last second before an attack, then you can recover some health as long as you deal some damage. Now this works on paper. Again, I just wanted to try out the different mutations. I don't pick this very often, and I figured since I'm going to be rolling a lot with the Rapier anyways, might as well give it a go. So from my current impression of it, I don't think it's that good. I mean, healing mutations have never been the best ones in the game. I always would have just preferred more damage. I do think the Frenzy mutation is pretty good though, since they did buff it in the recent patch. Yep, so here I'm gonna run into slightly a bit of trouble. I hate those shooting machine gun crystal things, they're just really annoying. But I just feel like rolling at the very last second feels extremely risky, especially if you're trying to do it intentionally. Sometimes you just roll instinctively and then you get the healing bonuses. I mean, that's pretty cool, but if you're actively trying to get the healing and you mess it up, because you get hit so hard at 5 BC, I just don't think it's very worth it. If you really want healing, just take Frenzy. At least that is my impression of it. But yeah, I also can't wait to play with the different aspects that are coming out in 2.5. So what are you guys looking the most forward to in 2.5? Definitely let me know. There weren't a lot of gameplay changes. It's mainly quality of life improvements, which I can definitely appreciate. And yes, here I'm going to find a challenge rift. I know you guys have been hounding me about missing these, especially in my last video. I believe that is the meat skewer run. I was complaining about having low scroll stats, and then it turns out a lot of people were just telling me, yeah, you missed the challenge room. So I'll definitely keep a lookout on these a bit more. Sometimes I just get so absorbed in the moment that I don't look where I'm going. Okay, finally entering the Conjunctivius fight. Now initially I had some doubts about this encounter. I wasn't sure how well I was going to perform, mainly because Rapier requires you to roll a lot and Conjunctivius is in the air. I'm not sure how well that mixed together, but I'm actually going to get a shield, I believe, from the shop. So finally the game is going to begin for me. This is where I get serious. Yes, you don't get a lot of opportunities to attack, but just look at that damage. It's definitely something. So I recently did a live stream of Genshin Impact of me rolling my favorite anime waifu from the game. I've been waiting for that character for like a month. I appreciate those that actually came onto the live stream. I know it was really short, and it was kind of on short notice, but I had fun doing it. It was my first time doing something of that nature. I would definitely stream for you guys a bit more if I had a better setup. I do have the live stream saved as a VOD on my channel if you want to check that out. So Genshin Impact is my first ever gacha game I've ever played, and I probably will never play another one. In fact, shortly after getting that character I wanted, I decided I wanted to quit the game, so I don't play it anymore. I've never really been a fan of live service games. I have played Hearthstone a bit before, but I quit like a couple years back, mainly because I didn't like the monetization. Like, what's the point of having over 1,000 cards in the game if you can't even play with half of them? Because the economy is just so expensive to the point where if you wanted to create like a meta deck, then you will have to pour all of your resources into one as a free-to-play player. Now, originally I thought Genshin Impact was gonna be like Breath of the Wild, but it's free, it's on PC. And yeah, for the most part I did enjoy the open world, the story aspect, exploring the lore, that kind of stuff. It was definitely my favorite part of playing the game for like the past couple of months. But yeah, after I was introduced to the gacha mechanics, I kind of fell down this rabbit hole of feeling the need to spend money on the game. I know there are some video essays out there that critique this, but Genshin Impact has a really well monetized system. But the economy of it, just like Hearthstone, I just feel it's too expensive. First of all though, the price to even get a 5-star character is around $200. That's like 3 AAA games. And this is just for one character and one instance of that character. You can roll duplicates and it increases the damage output, so that's pretty cool, but again, you're gonna have to spend like $100, $200 more. Now, if you're a whale, this really isn't a problem, but if you're me and you're broke, then, you know, it's gonna be a little bit concerning. That's a game where you literally have to come back every single day to do dailies, and assuming that you have one of their subscriptions, you can actually roll once every day. And you're gonna need around 60 to 80 rolls for one 5-star character. And yeah, this is where you start to see how the grind adds up. I just don't have the time and energy to come back every single day like a second full-time job. And on top of that, even if you do get a character, it needs some insane investments to actually make them viable in the later game. So every time I get a new character or I see one being released, I'm just out here sighing like, oh, I have to grind some more just so I can make this character viable? Like, come on. So on the last day of me playing the game, which was like a week ago, I decided to just go to the starting area where you first start the game, and I just logged off from there. And I will probably never go back. Well, actually I will go back after they finish off the storyline and the whole world is open for exploration. Live service games is just not something I enjoy. Some games these days, especially MMOs, they require a subscription for you to play them, which I think is just kind of insane. Now you have stuff like the Microsoft or Xbox Game Pass or something. I think that's fine, it's kind of like Netflix, but for video games. But if you're paying money per month just to play one game, I think there is an issue with that. This is the reason I always preferred indie games, ideally roguelikes, that's why I enjoy Dead Cells. It's a one-time fee and you can play it forever. I have been getting into Stardew Valley recently. It's a very casual game and it's really different from what I usually play, but I actually really enjoy it. And to a certain degree, I do miss Genshin Impact, kind of namely the process of me going back every day and doing dailies. Am I gonna be okay without it? Yeah, probably. I am most likely not going back if I'm gonna be honest here. I guess I'm just feeling a case of the Stockholm Syndrome. But in a nutshell, I just don't like how they force you to approach the game. I mean, I saved up like 2 months worth of resources just for the chance of rolling the character I want, so it's a little bit ludicrous. Some people like that kind of mechanic, I personally don't. So that's that. Anyways, we're going into the Cavern now. And because of Grappling Hook, I soon realized that this is how you were supposed to play the Rapier. So I did say in the beginning, this weapon is mainly focused on burst damage. So this is what I try to do with the Grappling Hook. Essentially, your next hit after the hook does additional damage. So I'm trying to take advantage since this is a burst damage build. But in terms of what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to do what I normally do in other runs. You know, trying to roll some good affixes on my weapons, finding some skills that synergizes well with said affixes. And you'll see a bit later, actually right now, you'll see how much damage the Rapier's going to do, especially to those ground shakers, which is pretty insane. And we're gonna come up to this elite slammer here. And yeah, this one, again, not a problem. I was honestly surprised. Now, that being said though, burst damage is cool and all, but this is mainly like a thing that's more suitable for biomes. You have to wonder how well this translates into bosses, since let's be real here, you're not gonna burst down bosses down in like 10 seconds. It's just not happening. Now that we're in the cavern, I did consider of going to Scarecrow, but let's be real here, I don't want to deal with Rapier Castle, so I'm gonna go for Giant instead. But other than that, unlike my last run with the meat skewer, I'm actually doing pretty well right now in terms of scroll stats. I got 30 in the Cavern, and I probably was gonna get 32 or 33 before Hand of the King, which is amazing. I got a nice cleaver and the Bloodthirsty shield to back me up. From the looks of it, I do have poison synergy as well, so I'm probably gonna do something with that. I do have Snake Fangs in the backpack. The reason for this is because, at least when I was theorizing what I should do with the build, I was thinking of doing something with Porcupine, the mutation that lets you put a weapon in the backpack, and then every time you roll, it damages something. So I thought maybe I would have like an affix in the backpack, namely poison from Snake Fangs, and then maybe do something with that if I do like a poison affix on the Rapier or something. But in terms of damage in this giant fight, you see how effective the Rapier is. Because the giant pauses every now and then, it creates the perfect opportunity for me to get in some burst damage. And just like that, the fight is over. Like I said, I'm gonna skip Rapier Castle and go straight into Hand of the King. So let's see how well the Rapier can perform against this endgame boss. Now, I actually imagine Hand of the King is gonna be slightly easier than possibly Conjunctivious, because again, just like Giant, he does pause slightly in between attacks, so it's really ideal for the burst damage that comes from this weapon anyways. And yeah, although it's not the fastest kill in the world, as you can see, we're already at the enemy stage, so we're pretty much halfway through the run already. Hand of the King is gonna come back, and for some reason he takes some fall damage. I am not sure what causes this. I feel like it doesn't happen all the time. But just like that, Hand of the King is down as well. So as much as I would hate to admit it, I would say this build is performing slightly better than the meat skewer right now. Again, I think I just don't have enough practice with that weapon, but it can shine if you do have the knowledge and skill to use it. So we're gonna go into the Astrolab, so final biome in the game. This is where things get a little dicey, and as you can and this is when I'm going to change up my mutation slightly. I would have went with my old setup with Combo and then Instinct of the Master of Arms, but because I'm so scared of this biome, I'm just trying to play it safe. You know, play Disengagement with Extended Healing. And here's where I'm gonna try out that synergy I was talking about earlier with Porcupine. So every time I roll through an enemy, I'm going to inflict one instance of poison. And hopefully, I think I will have Poison Affix on the Rapier. And then yeah, here you'll see something very unexpected. I don't know what I was doing. I always missed the small gaps there, and as soon as I got teleported back from the void, I somehow end up where the Apex key is. So I guess that's one way you can reach the key, though it's probably not recommended if you don't have the Sonic Carbine yet. But as I was speaking earlier, I do have 33 stats, doing very well for this stage of the game. And I did learn something new today in the Astrolab. So actually, if you have the Lacerating Aura, it deals with the bombers and the librarians extremely well, because it can actually reach the librarians even when they're attacking you. So most of the times, you won't even get hit. And as always, I take damage from things that are the least expected. I normally never take damage from those magicians, but what can you do? I debated about saving up the health flask since I assume I'm going to need it a bit later. I believe you'll just see me take it here in a second, and thanks to extended healing, I can heal a lot more than what I'm supposed to. So again, trying to play it safe with these bombers. I wasn't sure how long until the food shop showed up, and of course, to my luck, it immediately showed up right afterwards. So I'm a little bit salty about that, but not really. It's really only just one health flask that I'm missing out on. and I'm doing insane damage right now, so I'm not too worried. Alright, moving on to the tower now. I normally don't show a lot of footage of this area, mainly because it's kind of the same thing over and over again every single run. I used to show it, I just really like the parkour aspects, but just like everything in life, it kind of gets old. I know some of you have been struggling with the laser traps. Something you can do here is to just wall run, and if you're worried about the monsters on top, you can actually just launch your homunculus rune, and then you can just get rid of them that way. It's an easy way to single out enemies and make your life just slightly easier. So what you just saw there, I went to the shop and I decided to replace the grappling hook, because let's be honest here, the grappling hook doesn't work too well on this final boss, the collector. I wanted a skill that can actually give me a lot of value over time, and I decided to take Sinew Slicer. Since the items you get at the end of the level are the highest tier possible, just like the caverns, I thought, you know, I had nothing to lose, might as well go for it. So we're gonna enter the collector boss fight, and again, I wasn't sure how well I was gonna perform, but I had a shield, so I wasn't worried too much. I've seen his attacks hundreds of times by now, and thanks to the shield, I am not worried at all. And of course, with the addition of the practice rooms, you guys can safely practice against this boss as well. I know it's very frustrating if you reach the end, and you're not too familiar with the bosses, and then you just die because you don't know how to dodge the attacks. And that's totally understandable. I definitely had that the first couple of times I came here. So is this the fastest collector kill of all time? Definitely not. I don't think he healed twice in the first room, but I would say this is pretty above average in terms of how fast I'm killing collector. But since I'll be rolling a lot, I was really surprised on how fast I was able to roll consistently. But right now I'm just trying to get him to do his third heal, so I can move on to the final phase. And yup, there it is, the third and final heal. Well, technically not the final one, but you know. Now, I also had my doubts about lacerating aura. I didn't do a skills tier list, but I would say it would go somewhere on the A tier. And yep, just like that, I did lose the no-hit unfortunately, but what can you do? But from what I can tell, the range of it is still very insane, and you just need it to deal with flying enemies. So it's still really good. Even if I were to put it on the tier list, it's still going on the B to A tier, I would say. And just like that, we're gonna drink the Panacea. And I'm trying to do something cool here where I finish him off in one burst, but for some reason he just keeps doing these annoying attacks. But yeah, there you go, he is down, and we just beat the game with the Rapier. So hopefully, as always, you guys enjoy this build. Definitely let me know what you guys want to see in the future in terms of... I'm definitely open to pretty much anything, and I'm thinking of doing Nerves of Steel next. Thank you for tuning in to this week's run. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.